Is artificial intelligence going to be just a fad? Is just a hype? Or is it really going to be an integral portion of healthcare in the future? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Junaid, neurocritical care, stroke and epilepsy specialist. Great of you guys that you have already completed the 5 modules in the particular course if you're taking it as a course, and if you're viewing it on YouTube, great that you have been following me throughout this journey. Look, what we have been talking about is what is going to be the choice of your specialty, and we wanted to talk about the lifestyle choices. In terms, we discussed the financials and all of that. And then we have been talking about the future of healthcare, which is basically the 3 modules: advanced practice providers, virtualization and virtual care, and then lastly the artificial intelligence. This particular module is not designed for you to become artificial intelligence experts. What it is designed for is giving you enough knowledge, enough in-depth and understanding that you can make an informed decision of what kind of medical specialty you're going to choose into, or at least if in general your understanding of artificial medicine can improve. So once you're actually continuing to read stuff, or including research papers, or in general things that come out in the media itself, you can properly analyze them in terms of, is it just hype, or is there going to be a proper implementation of these things in the future? We're going to talk about all of this in the next few lectures, and there's a lot of them that are coming. So make sure that you tune into. If you have not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you're notified on the lectures series that are coming in through. Okay, let's get started. So before I wanted to start and actually going into the content of it, I just wanted to make sure that you also understand that how important it is that the leaders of our time think about artificial intelligence, because those are the trendsetters. Those are the people who are making the choices in large corporations where to put money in terms of future development. So let's see what they think. So the senior director of Good Research Lab at Microsoft Corporation, Geraldine Miller, said that artificial intelligence has the potential to radically change healthcare. It is as if AI and healthcare are meant for each other. Now, why does she say that? Now, look, we are looking and currently living in times of data abundance, right? But there was a time that there was paucity of data, where there was no YouTube, Twitter, tons of different variables producing data, every minute details. We were in a time where healthcare data was literally somewhere between 50 to 30% of all data generated in the world. And if you look at that, healthcare continues to have data, but of course now there are different resources that are creating more and more data as well. But there was a time that healthcare was was probably one of the most important source of organized data in life. And that in itself, the idea that we have been using data in healthcare for a long time, is made for artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, the blood of it, is basically massive amount of big data, and we're going to talk about this. So when you have this level of big data that is organized, that is labeled, it is perfect for artificial intelligence. And that is what she means by artificial intelligence and healthcare are made for each other. Now let's talk about another from Microsoft Corporation, the CEO itself, Satya Nadella. Artificial intelligence represents one of the technology's most important priorities, and perhaps AI's most urgent application is in healthcare. Now, why does he mean by that? Look, if you look at United States itself, the biggest issue is what? Like the whole country from even a mega perspective is economics and finances. If you're going to continue to, piss away 18% of our GDP in just healthcare, which is very different from other countries, we need technologies. We need ways to actually develop and remove some of the redundancies, remove some of the fraud, the abuse, and artificial intelligence as a technology can do that. Globally speaking, there's a significant lack of physicians, nurses, healthcare workers, occupational therapists, physical therapists. We need to augment their capabilities so their reach is better. And again, the only technology that can do that is artificial intelligence. Let's listen to a few more leaders. Andrew Yang, founder of Deep Learning AI. This was part of the Stanford University at some point in time. And then, of course, this is one of the major institutions that have been promoting, especially artificial intelligence in healthcare. AI is the new electricity. Just as 100 years ago, electricity transformed one industry after another, AI will do the same. I think this is probably one of the most powerful statements that I read in any time. What does he mean by that? As powerful as electricity? Like, what do you mean exactly? Like, this is confusing, right? So let me explain this a little bit. There are few technologies in our era that has been called general purpose technologies. And believe it or not, they are basically fire, wheel, and then invention of electricity. The reason they are called general purpose technologies is that they are not specific to industry, right? So for example, combustion engine is mainly in cars, transportation or, stuff. It's not in the food industry per se. So you cannot call combustion engine a general purpose technology because, technically speaking, it is not really using, to develop food. It is basically nitrogen, agriculture, tech, etc. So there are very few technologies that are of truly general purpose, that are something that can be applied at wholesale to many different industries. And that is why when I heard this was really, to be honest with you, for me a light bulb moment. To me itself, in my conceptualization, a paradigm shift in understanding of how important artificial intelligence is. If you want to read more about it, you should definitely check the book Exponential Age by Azim Ashram. We're going to leave the link in the description for you to review that book. Now let's keep going. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, on the similar, artificial intelligence is the most profound thing humanity is working on. It is probably more profound than fire and electricity, the concept of general purpose technology. But more importantly, he's also saying that given that the potential it has, given that the way it can be applied in multifaceted way, given that it can impact so many things at the same time, given it can be transferred from one learning to another learning. So if you have agri-tech and there's actually, trying to figure out how the soil is, you can apply that learning, that artificial intelligence that you have learned in the agri-tech, you can basically potentially use the same models and everything to apply to a different industry altogether. This transferable learning, this artificial intelligence that never sleeps, that never tires, that never goes away, has more profound impact than potentially fire and electricity. One of the things that we're going to discuss is like how human intelligence has developed and moved on, and then how artificial intelligence is going to be moving on in the future as well. Before I get into that, I really want you to understand this particular quote, and this is from Albert Bartlett. He actually said that the greatest shortcoming of human race is our inability to understand the exponential function. Exponential function is unnatural, right? I mean, there's no such thing as exponential growth, right? We don't see the trees grow exponentially. We don't see, things changing in the real world, in the physical world in an exponential way, right? There's no such thing as the kid growing up as an adult. These are like science fiction stuff. So as humans, we are not able to relate to an exponential change. And for us to understand that, it's a really hard thing. And then these exponential changes can grow up, grow, and then suddenly feel like the Kodak moment, right? Like for example, what the hell? Like, was there ever a time that photography, the video was non-digital? Yes. It's very hard for my daughter to understand, a 5-year-old, that she can take thousands of pictures on iPhone. And I remember the day that, oh my God, I have to develop these pictures. So I have to be very sensitive because it's going to cost me this much money to develop those pictures. So it's just completely out of the realm of sometimes people understanding what exponential change can mean. And therefore, it's very important to understand. Now, let's get to the second important point. And when we are anyways discussing the future, when we are discussing anything that is going to change what 5 years or 10 years down the line is going to show, what we look today is the scientific advancement, the amount of people working in that field, because today's research is going to go tomorrow's product. Right? So if there's a research right now going on, if there's a research potential going on right now, we're going to see that turning into a product from 5, 10, 11, 20 years from now. So where is the real research is going on? Is artificial intelligence being one of the most important areas being researched? So if you look at the peer-reviewed publications all the way from 2000 to 2019, this is a 20-year span. And you can see that the number of peer-reviewed articles that are being published have dramatically increased. In 2000s, there was barely any, peer-reviewed articles that were being done. But 2019, this is actually an up curve right away. And we are seeing the slope increasing as fast as we can, because there are a number of people, companies, private institutions. And again, remember, these are public research figures, right? We don't really know what's going behind closed doors at Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tencent, or any other major large corporations. So we are, of course, limited to what we can see in the public domain. So this is clearly a significant amount of increase that is going on in terms of research. And that research that is done today is going to be tomorrow's product. That is going to be tomorrow's lifestyle. That is going to be tomorrow's norm. So today we're going to look at these researchers, and that's what we think, that tomorrow we're going to see these products going in, specifically in healthcare as well. I started this conversation understanding, is it a hype or is it going to be a real impact? Before I answer this question, you need to know what we call the Amara Law. This is by Roy Amara, who was actually the Senior Director of AI Research in Microsoft as well. He explained it best, in my opinion. He said, we tend to overestimate technology in the short run and underestimate it in the long run. So you see all this hype and, fascinating 3D videos and, animations going on in the artificial intelligence, and we're going to say, well, where is it, right? I mean, I don't see it. I don't see any artificial intelligence in day to day. It's not really impacting my life. What we do is that we always overestimate it in the short term. Hey, in 5 years, we're going to do this. But we underestimate what it's going to achieve in 20 years, what it's going to achieve in 30 years. And clearly, who knew Google is going to be what it is literally 20 years ago? I mean, it's impossible to even fathom, because, what was it? It was originally, what was its key thing? One, to organize the knowledge of the whole world. And that was an ambitious goal, right? I mean, what the hell? But it did. And if you can see, one of the key things that it has pivoted, it has gone from a knowledge-based company to an artificial intelligence first company. And this took 20 years, and it has literally changed the way we have function, that we move around in the world, because Google Maps is extremely important, etc. Same thing with Apple is considered, right? There was time that it was going to be a bankrupt, and now it is one of the most valuable companies in the world. And artificial intelligence, they have hired people from Tesla, Google, and they're making their own processes as well. As a matter of fact, they have such a huge importance on it that they have put in neural engines in every processor. So this Amara's Law is extremely important in understanding the hype versus impact. Yes, there's a lot of hype. Yes, it is. A lot of it is all bullshit. But believe it or not, it's not going to come through in 5 years, but in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, where your career is going to be maturing, you need to make sure you take that into account. Another saying by Hal Varian, which is the chief economist at Google. In Silicon Valley, they always say, you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. This is exactly what I'm talking about. There are people who are trendsetters. These are people who are senior directors, chief economists, and everything. They all agree that, technically speaking, you can call it a hype. You can call it bullshit. You can call whatever you want. But 10 years from now, 15 years now, from 20 years now, artificial intelligence is going to impact healthcare. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. We need ethical boundaries, etc., which we're going to also talk about during this whole module as well. In the next lecture, we're going to talk about the parameters of artificial intelligence, the 5 A's: augmented, assistive, applied, ambient, and autonomous. And we're going to talk about all of them and then tell you what is your baseline understanding of what artificial intelligence really does, what its limitations should be, etc. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a nice day.